Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Susan Lemley and Ed and the Bacharachs, I assume both of you are there, and to Larry. Larry, you're on here twice. So Shabbat Shalom to Larry and to Larry. Shabbat Shalom to Batya. Shabbat Shalom to Tybal. Shabbat Shalom to the Brayers. We'll keep it on gallery view so I can see everybody. We're going to begin on page 103 or page 65 or page 10, and if you're able to do so, please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sechvi bina levchi min yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani betzamo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, roka haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asali kol tzorki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten la'ev koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavir shena minai, utnuma me'af apai v'resam fenechan. Utenin hoyom v'chol yom lechenu chesed rachamim beinecha v'nei kol ro'inu v'tigma lenu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim l'mo Yisrael. Ashreinu matov chalkeinu, manaim gorleinu, mayafa yerushatenu, ashreinu shanachnu mashkim arvim, erev avoker, v'ramim pamayim bechol yom, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Kahadesh Shimcha Matishe Shamecha, Vekadesh Shimcha Be'olamecha, Uvishuatcha Tarim V'Tagbi Akarneinu, Baruch atah Adonai, Vekadesh Shimcha Barabim. Rabbi Yishmael, page 109, page 70, or around page 18. Yehiratzam yafanecha, Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Beiteinu, shetiten chalkeinu b'toratecha, v'niyeh mitamidam shel Aaron HaKohen, ohev shalom v'rodef shalom, ohev et habriotu mekorban leTorah. We'll turn now to page 112, page 70. Odienu v'beseva, dishenim v'ranim yu, le'agik yeshadonai, zuri v'lo avlatavo. Page 120, page 81, or page 50. Mizmor shir, Chanukat habayit leDavid, Armi Chananai ki tilatanim. Eilecha Adonai ekra, ve'el Adonai etchanan. Eilecha Adonai ekra, ve'el Adonai etchanan. Shema Adonai, v'choneini, Adonai ozeli. Shema Adonai, v'choneini, Adonai samecha chava v'lo yidam. Adonai Elohai le'olam odeka. Even though we are a few short a minyan on the field, because there are so many lovely faces on our screen, we will do Mourner's Kaddish on page 121 or page 82 or page 52. Yit gadal ve'yit kadash shemei rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirute ve'amlich malchute bechayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Israel ba'agala uv'izman kari ve'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabba mevarach le'olam lamei amaya. Yit barach ve'yish tabach ve'yit pa'ar ve'yit romam ve'yit naseh Ve'yit hadar, ve'yit ale, ve'yit halal, shemei dekudesha b'rechu. Le'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata, tush bechata ve'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma ve'imru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, ve'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. If you're able to do so, please rise for Baruch She'amar, page 122, page 83, or page 54. Baruch She'amar ve'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu, Baruch hoseh v'reshit, Baruch omer v'eseh, Baruch kozem koyim. Yachid Cheolami, Melech Meshubach Vardei Ad Shemo Gadol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Melech Mehula Batishbachot. You may be seated middle of page 126 or page 86 or page 58. Hoshia et amecha, uvarech et nachlatecha. Va'ani b'chastecha v'tachti, yagel libi b'shuatecha, asher l'Adonai ki gamal alai. Page 128, page 88, or page 62. Ledavi b'shanato atam lifnei v'melech v'rgoshtei v'yelach havarcha Adonai b'chol tamid. Gadlu l'Adonai iti inu v'mashemo yachdav derashti Adonai. Mi aish hechafetz chayim ohev yamim lirot tov netzor leshon chameira usfatecha Midaber mirma sur merav asetov bakeshalom verod ve'yu. Pohodeh Adonai nevesh avada velo yashmu kol hachosim bo. If you're able to do so, please rise. Page 132, page 92, or page 72. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam chasto. Hodu l'Elohei Elohim, ki le'olam chasto. Hodu l'Adonai. Shebeshifleinu zachar lanu ki hashamayim ki leolam chasto. You may be seated. Nafshenu chikata l'Adonai Ezreinu maginenu ki v'yismach livenu ki v'shem koshav atachnu yichatztecha Adonai aleinu kasher yichanu lach mizmor shir leyom haShabbat. Odienu v'beseva deshenim v'rananim yiyun lehagid ki hashar Adonai tzuri velo avlatabo hanamalak yizlavesh Eidotecha nemnu meyod leveitcha navakodesh Adonai leorech yamim Adonai leorech yamim. Ashrei, page 136, page 96, or page 81. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Odi Alucha Sela Ashrei Ham Shekacha Lo Hashem Shadonai Elohav Teila LeDavid Amach. Poteach et yedecha mazbil lechocha retzon zeh Karov Adonai lechol korav lechol asher yikra'u ve'emet Karov Adonai lechol asher yikra'u ve'emet Ayam da-da-dee-da, ayam da-dee-da, ayam da-dee-da, oh. Ayam da-da-dee-da, ayam da-dee-da, ayam da-da-dee-da, oh. Ayam da-da-dee-da, dee-da, 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 oh. Ayam da-da-dee-da, ayam da-da-dee-da, Tehillah Adonai Yadaber Pi Vivarech Kobas Hashem Shalom Vaed V'anachnu Nevarechiyah Me'ata ve'ad olam Hallelujah Hallelujah Hali nafshi et Adonai Ahala Adonai V'chayai Azam Adonai shomer et gerim yatom ve'amana yoded v'derech rashayim yavet imloch Adonai le'olam Elohai Zion ledor vador hallelujah. Page 139, page 99, or page 86. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, kol tzeva'av. Hallelujah, shemesh ve'yareach. Hallelujah, kol kochvei or. Hallelujah, shemei hashamayim ve'amayim asher mehal hashamayim. Yeah, hallelujah, et shem Adonai ki hu tziva v'nivrahu ve'ya'amidem le'yad le'olam v'chok natan v'lo yavor. Yeah, hallelujah, et shem Adonai ki hu tziva v'nivrahu ve'ya'amidem le'yad le'olam v'chok natan v'lo yavor. Hallelujah. 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 Vahayarim kerelemo tehila lecho chasidav livnei Yisrael am karavo. Hallelujah. Page 141, page 100, or page 88. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Bekodsho leverkiauzo. Hallelujah. Tavalu karavo. Kol anshamate. Hallelujah. 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 Kol anshamate. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Kol anshamate. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Baruch Hashem. Amen. Amen. Baruch Hashem. Hallelujah. Vaymalech vadok laharetz. Amen ve'amen. If you're able to do so, please rise. Top of page 142, or around page 100, or page 90. Vayvarech David Adonai lenei kol havayom David baruchat Adonai Elohei Yisrael Avinu me'olam va'ad. Lecha Adonai hagdulav. Ahatahu Adonai Elohim asher b'chatar Avraham v'tzeto me'or kastim v'samta shama Avraham u'matzat levavo ne'eman lefanecha v'charoti mo'av v'tatetet. Bakat livneihem ve'avu v'tachayim b'basha ve'odfeim ishtachtam yitzlach u'evim emayim azim v'yoshe Adonai b'yamot yisrael mitzrayim v'yosit v'yaminu b'Adonai u'v'Moshe avdo az yasher Moshe v'nei Yisrael tashir azal Adonai ahashir Adonai ki gagas esrachom ramavayam azim. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed ki l'Adonai hamlocha Moshe b'Elohim v'alu Moshe b'Eretz l'shmon ha'arisav v'hayta l'Adonai hamlocha v'haya Adonai l'melech ha'kol ha'aretz b'yom ha'hu Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated for Nishmat, page 145, page 104, page 334. I just want to say hello to Bella and to Annette and to Gail, all who have joined us since I first said hello to everyone on our screen. Nishmat kol chai tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu. Nehalechecha shabechacha nevarecha nevarechat shem kodshecha kamor leDavid barchi nafshi et Adonai v'chol karavai et shem kodsho ha'el b'tatzumot uzecha hagadol b'chvod shemecha hagibor lenetzach v'nora v'noratecha hamelech hayoshev al kisei v'nisa. In just a moment, we'll begin with Shochen Ad on page 147, page 105, or page 336. I just want to mention that for a second I thought I had to stop before Ha'el. It's just been it's been a long month of stopping before Ha'el. But also, it is so lovely to not be on a stage and to be able to hear all of you singing and be so close to you while we're davening. So, the stage away and allowing us to be close to you this Shabbos. There are cards by the Chumashim, again I was about to say machzors, by the Chumashim for different aliyot or for Hagbar or Galila. Please feel free to take one. They are not reserved for anybody in particular, and we would love for people to be able to take aliyot if you would like them, especially if on Simchat Torah you did not get an aliyah. We're going to be reading Breshit today, so all the more so you should take an aliyah and come to the Torah for the first time this year. Shochen Ad begins on page 147, page 105, or page 336, and Cantor Charney will lead us.
Shochen Ad Marom V'Kadosh Shemo B'fi Sharim Titala U'divrei Tzadikim Titbarach U'b'lshon Chasidim Titromam U'karev Kedoshim Titkadash U'makalot Rivevot Amcha Beiti Yisrael Shekin Chovat Kol Yitzorim Lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu Beiteinu Leotot Le'olel Shaveach Lefair Lerman Le'adil Levarech Le'olei Ulkales Al Kol Divrei Shero V'Tishbachot Tzadit V'Nishai Avdecha V'Shichecha
Please rise.
Yishavach Shimcha La'ed Malkeinu Berachot v'hod להודות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלך גדול לתשבחות. אל ההודות אדון הנפלאות. הבוקר בשירי זמרה. מלך אלוהי העולמים. יתכתב יקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד דבר חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון וימכון וחי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה וזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ולעולמיה, יתברך וישבח, ויתפאר וישמע ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי תקו תשבריחו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, תמירם ביומה ואמרו אמן.
In a moment, we'll do the Baruchu on page 149, page 107, or page 340, and then Cantor Troni will continue leading us until we get to the Amidah, which we will do in a Heichi Kedusha, so we will continue to daven with her through the Kedusha, and then we will enter into our own whispered Amidah.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaKol Yiduchai Ve'Kol Yishabach. Ein Kecha Adonai Eloheinu ba'olam hazeh v'ein zulatecha malkeinu l'chayei olam haba efes b'iltecha goleinu limot HaMashiach v'ein domeh lecha Moshiachenu l'chiyat hametim. El Adon al kol ha'masim baruch u'mvorach v'fi kol neshama godlo v'tuvo malei olam da'at u'tvuna sav v'imoto hamnikahei ha'chayot ha'kodesh v'nehtar v'chavod ha'merkava zechut u'mishor lifnei chiso chesed v'rachamim lifnei chavodo tovim me'orot shemara Eloheinu yitzaram v'dat v'vina u'v'askel koach u'v'ra na'atam b'hem liot mosheli v'kerev tevel meleim ziv v'mvikim noga na'ezivam b'chol ha'olam smechim b'tzeitam v'sasim devoam Hosim v'yayim artzom konam v'yer v'chavod notenim lishmo tzol averina l'zecher machuto kara l'shemesh v'yisrach ora v'hi kitzurat levana shefach notenim lo kol tzavam arom tiferet zugdula Serafim ve'ofanim ve'chayot hakodesh v'el asher shabbat mikol ha'masim. Tibarach Moshino Shevach V'seyedecha V'el miorei hor she'asita yifaruch ha'selah. Tibarach Kulam ahuvim, kulam berim, kulam georim, v'kulam osim me'emai v'yiratzon konam v'kulam bodechim epiham b'kdusha v'torah b'shira u'zimram barachim u'shabachim u'mfa'arim u'maritzim u'makdishim u'mamlichim et shem ha'el ha'melech ha'gadol ha'gibor v'hanurah kadosh hu v'kulam ha'kamlim aleihem ha'malchut shamayim zeh miseh v'notenim reshut zelazeh li'akdish li'ot Ram v'nachatrach b'safavirah v'nima kedosha kulam kechadonim v'omerim ve'yira kadosh 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 Adonai tzevot melech ha'aretz kevodo ve'ovanim v'chayot hakodesh barash gadol מתנשאים לעצרכים, לעומתם משבחים ויאמרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ברוך נמות שיתנו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות, עבר Beiteinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chemla gedola v'tera, chamalta aleinu, Avinu alkeinu, ba'avor avoteinu, shebatchu becha, Avinu malkeinu, v'telamdeinu kechaim, Kitechonenu slamteinu, Avinu of harachaman, Hamrachem rachem aleinu, V'tein v'liveinu lehavin ulhaskil lishmoa, lilmod ulamed, lishmor velasot, Uchayev et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha v'ahava, v'ha'erinenu v'toratecha, v'davek liveinu v'mitzvotecha, v'yached le'evaveinu li'ahava u'yira et shemecha, v'lo nevash le'olam va'ed, v'lo nevash le'olam va'ed, ki v'shem kodshecha hagadol ve'hanora v'tachnu nagila v'nismecha nagila v'nismecha lishuatecha. V'havienu l'shalom erba kanfot haaretz, v'tolichenu komimiyut le'artzeinu. Hiel poel yeshuotato v'anu v'charta mikol am v'lashon, v'karavtanu l'shimcha hagadol sela be'emet, le'odot l'chal yeched chabi'ahava, baruch atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Adonai Elohechem emet, v'yatziv v'nacha v'kayam, v'yashar v'ne'eman, v'yahuv v'chaviv v'nechmad, v'naim v'nora v'nadir v'nora v'yadir, tukan kuba v'tov v'yaveh hadavar hazeh almenu le'olam va'ed. Medolei olam hakinu sor Yaakov hakinu Vidor vador kayam ushmo kayam v'chison achon machoto v'munato la'at kayam medudor v'rav. Made shata wonderful lane of Beiteinu. Malkin melech Beiteinu, kolenu goel Beiteinu. Yotzerein hutzor Yeshu hatenu. Beiteinu matzilenu melam shemecha. Ein Elohim zulatecha. Izrat avoteinu atahu me'olam. Medata. Teilot le'el Elyon Baruch Hu Barach Moshe Uvnei Yisrael V'chanu Shira V'simcha Rabba V'yameru Ulam V'chamocha Bailim Adonai V'kamocha Nedar B'kodesh Nora Teilot Osefele Shira Chadasha Shivichu Geulim Le'shimcha Sefat Hayam Yachad Kulam Hodu V'imlichu V'yameru Adonai Himloch Le'olam Ba'ed Yidinai nai 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 Yai nai Yai nai 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 Tzur Yisrael Kuma v'Yezrat Yisrael Uvdeichinu mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael Go Aleinu Adonai Tzavahot Shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Atah Adonai Ka'al Yisrael Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu V'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot U'Mevi Goel Livnei V'Neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Ufokedu Moshia U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ufoked Sarah Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechayim Meitim Atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach Umorid Hagashem Mechakel Chayim V'Chesed Mechayim Meitim V'Rachamim Ravim Somech Nofelim V'Rofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umkayim Emunato V'Shenei Hafar Michamocha V'Givurot U'Midol Melach Melech Limitim L'Chayei Matzmiach Yeshua Ne'manata Li'achayot Mitim Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayei HaMeitim Nikadesh et Shimcha Ba'olam כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום. כך כתוב היה נביאך וקרא זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול מן השאים ומצרפים ומצם ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו ממקומך מלכנו מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון תמלוך בציון בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תקדם ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. והננו תראינה מלכותך כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה. ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי נאי ינאי ינאי נאי 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 ינאי נאי 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 לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש לשבחך אלוהינו לפנינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Kaddish Shalem, page 167, page 138, or page 392.
Yitgatal v'yikdash shmei Rava le'omat yivrak yirtevim lichmal tevech ha'yichon v'mechon v'reidach v'Yisrael v'galahu v'zman kariv v'yimeru Amen Yehi shmei Rava v'varach le'olam olam me'om hayat Yivarach v'yishavach v'yivar v'yishama v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei dekudesha v'rich u'li'eh lamin kover chata v'shirata v'shvachata v'nechmata Daviram v'yom v'yimeru Amen. Jesus kavat sodonu dun dechol Yisrael. Kadamoni v'shmai v'yimeru. Amen. Yishlamar v'avim shamai hav'chaim aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen.
We're going to call up Ariel to help us lead the Torah service, which can be found on page 168 or page 139 or page 394. You can go stand next to her.
In kamocha va'Elohim Adonai ve'in kema'asecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim וממשלתך וכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום Avarachamim Heitiva Virtzoncha Et Zion Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim Nisa Adon Olamim Vayehi binso Aharon Vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai V'yafutu Oyevecha V'yanusu Mesanecha Mifanecha Ki mitzion Teitzei Torah Ki mitzion Teitzei Torah Udevar Adonai Miyerushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan, Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael, B'Kedushato.
Page 170.
Beiteinu rachetz velishmei kadisha yakira anai martu shpechan Beiteinu rachetz velishmei kadisha yakira anai martu shpechan yehera avakadamach detiftach libi beoraita vetashli mishalin delibi veliba dechol amach Yisrael Letavul chaim velishlam. Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadolu Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav.
Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'hagevura ve'atiferet ve'netzach ve'ha. Good job. Shamayim va'aretz lecha Adonai hamamlacha ve'amin ha'aseh lechol erosh Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishachavu lehadom raglav kadoshu Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishachavu lehar kodsho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. You may be seated. In a moment, Rick is going to introduce the actual part of Torah that we're going to be reading this morning. But I just want to say that there's something really remarkable about starting the Torah all over again, especially if you were here for Simchat Torah, the fact that we just start again, that we were used to calling page numbers in the 1000s, we were used to hearing all about Moshe, and now all of a sudden we're calling page number 30 and we're hearing about Adam and Eve. So it happens just with the blink of an eye. In some communities on Simchat Torah, it actually happens within the same breath. They go from the end of the Torah, from the end of Vezot HaBracha into the beginning of Breshit. And it takes these little moments, it takes these little moments in all of our Jewish ritual and life cycle, these little slivers of time that make distinction. Right, when you make matzah, for example, if you make it 1 minute over the 18 minutes, now all of a sudden it's chametz, it's no longer matzah. There are slivers of time for Shabbat that if you don't If you don't light the candles at the time that it's supposed to happen, or at the 18 minutes, when it's supposed to happen, as soon as those 18 minutes are over, you no longer can light candles. Shabbat has begun whether or not you've lit candles, but there are slivers of moments, slivers of time, and that's exactly what's happening this Shabbat. We've gone from the end of our Torah, a story all about our people becoming a community, back to a very individualized story where we're now talking about individual characters that we know, because we read the Torah on cycle every year, we know they will become community one day, but we've entered back into a time where they're just individuals. They're just people walking this earth, teaching us stories in families, but separated one from the other. Everything is very separated and kind of by clan, by family, until we get back into the last part of our Torah. So I just wanted to bring that to mind, because as we enter into this part of our Torah, which come 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 weeks from now will feel very normal, this Shabbat, for those of us who were in shul last week, feels very abnormal. All of a sudden, we're in a very different kind of story. The writing is very different in this part of our Torah. The narrative is very different in this part of Torah. So I just want to point that out for you to be able to focus on, think about, and also be able to recognize the little slivers of time in your life that make the biggest difference. Rick.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
You said things that'll lead right into what I wanted to say, so that's very nice.
Great minds.
First of all, I was going for Choshech here.
Very good.
So thank you for doing or.
Anytime. We coordinated.
And the dots I'm taking is the words of Torah.
Oh,
or
wow.
Trope or whatever. But,
who knew my outfit this morning was
yeah,
going to have such
good
a profound
coordination.
impact? Yeah.
Okay, so I want to start off with a little joke. How do we know that Adam and God were really best friends? Best buddies?
How do we know that Adam and God were really best friends?
Yes. I want you
Thank
to
you,
look.
Larry.
It's the 6th and the 7th word. So we're on page 30, the third triennial. We're starting the third triennial. A lot of congregations divide up the Torah reading to 3/3. So we're in the third triennial this year. Page 30 in the Eitz Chaim Chumash, chapter 5, verse 1. So the 6th and 7th words, how do we know that Adam and God were really best friends and they used to hang around a lot? And how was Adam described? No? Yes, very good. He's Bro Elohim. Yeah, so Adam and God were like this.
Very good.
Just a little bit. Okay, the other thing I wanted to say before I start is, I know some people think the Torah reading is such a hard thing they'll never be able to master it. They can't do it. It's just too much to remember. And yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but there are certain things that help a Torah reader if you know what to look for. Just like in a lot of things, if you know what you're doing, things go better than not. So just like Rabbi Schatz said that each clan, each family has their own little thing, that's going to build as we get to the 6th Aliyah, and then there's something special there that I want to talk to you about again. But I just want you to know that when you see all these words, there are patterns, there's groupings that go together that really help. So we're going to come across the word acharei, and there's going to be a curve on it, a pashta, and that little phrase will go the same way every time we see it. And then there's a number shmoneh. If you're a Torah reader, you have to worry about if it's shmoneh or shmona. But here it's all shmoneh, so I don't have to worry about anything else. If you get the shmoneh right, you got 6 words there that follow it that are always the same. And then there's variations. So if you got the patterns right, and then you note where the variations are, like tesha for the number 9 sometimes, and sometimes tesha. So there's things like that to watch for, but it's not that hard. That's basically it. So, Gaba here too?
Yeah, so Joey, I'm going to actually have you stand at the table so that people can take their aliyah from there. Did people get aliyot? Are our aliyot taken from the table? Yes? Oh, thank you so much, Marshall. Always can count on Marshall. Okay. V'yazor v'gem v'shilach chosim bo v'namar amen. Hakol v'doheinu shu kavod laTorah ya'amod. Shabtai Menachem. Ben Hillel Chanan v'Shoshan Aliyah Rishon Baruch Shenatan Torah l'Ma'aseh b'Kedushato. V'atem v'kim alechem haim kulchem hayom. And the blessing is on the back of your Aliyah card. Baruch Adonai Yvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Amen.
Amen. Zeh Sefer Toldot Adam Beyom Bro Elohim Adam Bidmut Elohim Asaoto Zacharun Keva Bra'am Vayevarech Otam Vayikra et Shemam Adam Beyom Hibar'am Vayechi Adam Shloshim U'me'at Shana Vayoled Bidmuto Kitzamo Vayikra et Shemo Shet Vayiyu Yemei Adam Acharei Holido et Shet Shmone Me'ot Shana Vayoled Banim Uvanot Vayiyu Kol Yemei Adam Asher Chai Tsha Me'ot Shana Ushloshim Shana Vayamot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ya'amod. Yehuda le Reuven. Ben Avraham. Betzipka Devorah Laliyah Sheni.
Page 31, verse 6.
Baruch Adonai Yvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Amen.
Amen. Vayechishet chamesh shanim u'me'at shana vayolet et enosh. Vayechishet acharei holido et enosh. Sheva shanim u'shmone me'ot shana vayolet banim u'vanot. Vayiyu kol yemei shet Shteim esrei shana u'tsha me'ot shana
Vayamot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ta'amod. Chaya Fega Bapluma Laliyah Shlishi.
Page 31, verse 9.
You can say something, Rick.
One other thing I wanted to point out, most sentences end da-da-da-da-da, then the ending, so it's curved down, curve up, then the ending. But here, we just have da-da-da. We don't have the curves. So it's like they just up and died. They suddenly died. You'll see that pattern also. There's two paragraphs now, one normal and one with a special ending.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Yvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha-Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayechi Enosh 90 shana, vayoled et Kenan. Vayechi Enosh acharei holido et Kenan. 15 shana, ushmone meot shana, vayoled banim uvanot. Vayiyu kol yemei Enosh 5 shanim, u'tsh'a meot shana, vayamot. Vayechi Kenan 70 shana, vayoled et Mahalalel. Vayechi Kenan acharei holido et Mahalalel 40 shana, u'shmone meot shana, vayoled banim uvanot. Vayiyu kol yemei Kenan 10 shanim, u'tsh'a meot shana, vayamot.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha-Torah.
Amen. Before we call up the fourth Aliyah, we'll cover the Torah for just 1 second. Bonnie, don't go anywhere. It's Bonnie's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, that's nice.
And I am not going to say too much, Bonnie, because I know that this is an emotional birthday for you for all the right reasons. But I do want to say that part of those slivers of moments is that we are on one side of something and then go into the other side. And this birthday, this year, has been a tough year for many reasons, but specifically for losing your partner. And this birthday is one that comes with much sadness and one that comes with loneliness. And as we were talking about before services began, it also comes with opportunities and knowing that a new year and a new moment in your life jumping forward means that you get to think about all the ways in which I hope and I pray and we bless you that this will be a year of joy and a year of simcha and a year of coming together with your children and your grandchildren and of taking that sliver, that moment in time where you'll go from this past year into the next year to see all the light that first of all can be brought into your year ahead, but also that you bring to all of us. Because you, Bonnie, are someone who is extremely humble and would never even mention the ways in which you influence our lives. But the reason that we hope for you to have a magnificent year ahead, full of all of those things of happiness and of health and of joy and of love, is because you bring all of those things to us. So Cantor Chorny will give you a Misha Berach in just a moment for your birthday. But I hope for you that even though tomorrow will be, I'm sure, filled with moments of memory and glimmers of sadness, that there is an abundance of light and of joy and of happiness brought to you in the coming year.
Nishavei bracha Beiteinu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah hu yivarech et Chaya Fega bat pluma shelta hayom lichvod hamakom v'lichvod haTorah v'lichvod haShabbat ולהודות לשם קודשו על כל החסד אשר גמלך מיום היוולדת עד היום הזה. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור אותה מכל נגע ומחלה ויוסיף לה שנות חיים מלאים בריאות ואהבה שלום ושלווה וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיה עם כל ישראל אחיך ואחיותיך V'nomar, Amen.
Amen.
May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless Bonnie, our dear friend, who has ascended today to honor God, the Torah, and Shabbat, and to thank God for all the blessings God has bestowed on her from the day of her birth until today. May God protect her from all disease and illness and bless her with a long life filled with good health and love. And may God send her blessing and success in all of her endeavors. And let us say, Amen.
Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach. Yom Huledet Sameach.
And I just want to say how grateful I am for the blessings of this community through all this time and all the years that I've been involved, which are many, and all the children that I've seen grow up and have children of their own. So I thank you all.
Shakoach. Happy birthday.
You're welcome.
Ya'amod. Yirmiyah Moshe. Ben Rav Tzvi Aryeh. Aliyah Revi'i.
Page 31, verse 15.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Yambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayechi Mahalalel Chamesh Shanim v'Shishim Shana Vayolet et Yared Vayechi Mahalalel Achrei Holido et Yered Shloshim Shana Ushmone Meot Shana Vayolet Banim Uvanot Vayiyu Kol Yemei Mahalalel Chamesh v'tishim shana ushmone meot shana vayamot vayechi yered shtayim v'shishim shana u'me'at shana vayolet et Chanoch vayechi yered acharei holido et Chanoch shmone meot shana vayolet banim uvanot Vayiyu kol yemei yered shtayim v'shishim shana u'tsha meot shana vayamot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Ta'amad harav. Sarah Vat Yitzchak Valeya Laliyah Chamishi. Before we do the fifth aliyah, we'll just pause now for a Misha Berach. If there is anybody whose name you would like to recite for the Misha Berach, please rise. And as I look around the room, please recite the name aloud. And then I will continue with the blessing. Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak VeYaakov Imatenu Sarah Rivka Recha VeLeah Yuvarech V'Yirpeh Et Zahava Yafa Bat Esther Vet Rivka Bat Pesha Vet Harav Yaakov Baruch Ben Uri V'Chava Vet Yosef Menachem Mendel Ben Gittel Vet Yehuda Ben Avram V'Sara Vet Bela Esther Gittel Bat Fega Vet Ben Zion Ben Gittel Vet Yelena Kramer Vet Aharon Avram Ben Adina Vet Cyril Chana Bat Sivia Vet Risa Chana Bat Chasya Geula Vet Avram Simcha Ben Avram V'Sara Vet Sarah Cyril Bat Miriam Vet Menachem Ben Lili Vet Yehuda Israel Ben Leah, Vet Shulamit Bat Miriam, Vet Mordechai Ben Esther, Vet Chaim Ben Sarah Leah, Vet Michael Coenzo, Vet Penina Drebin, Vet David Folman, Vet Rivka Chana Bat Sipora, Vet Lucy Leah Bat Dora, Vet Pola Zambra, Vet Pinchas Ben Eliza, Vet Yudit Bat Rivka, Vet Danny Benjamin Ben Tova Nurit, Vet Gershon Ben Chaim Vet Diverta, Vet Sarah Bat David Vedina, Vet Ahuva Naomi Bat Eti, Vet Taibo Bat Rachel Leah, Vet Paul Fitzpatrick, Vet Yael Bat Avram Vesara, Vet Eliano Bat Dona Rivka Peril, Vet Yoshua Ben Shandel, Vet Batya Leah Bat Chaya. Marshall? Out loud.
Esther Bat Malka, Stanley Ben Florence,
HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimele Rechamim Aleihem Le'achazikam Le'rafotam Ve'yishlach Lehem Merav Refuah Shlema Min HaShamayim Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf B'tor Shar HaCholim V'chazek Et Yedei HaOskim B'tzorcheihem Shabbatim Milizoku Refuah Krova Lavo Hashta Bagalav Izman Kariv V'nomar Amen.
We continue on page 31, verse 18.
Baruch Adonai Baruch
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Ba'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen.
Verse 21. Amen. Vayechi Chanoch Chamesh v'shishim shana Vayoled et Metushalach Vayitalech Chanoch et Elohim Acharei holido et Metushalach Shlosh me'ot shana Vayoled banim uvanot Vayihi kol yemei Chanoch Chamesh v'shishim shana u'shlosh me'ot shana Vayitalech Chanoch et Elohim v'einenu ki lakach oto Elohim.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen.
So, Rick, I thought you were going to drash about why now we don't have the Enachta and the Sopasuk.
Yeah.
No.
Why
Oh,
is
I
this
don't
the
need it.
exception?
Can I call her up first? Okay, I'm gonna call up Jenny, and then the heckling can continue. Just give me 1 second. Ta'amad Yael Vat Avraham Vesara Lelia Shishi. Okay, now you may answer.
All I did say about the Merchat Yibcha Sof Pasuk is that there's unusual endings here where people just die and there isn't the lead up. But as the people go on, they're more involved and there's different things with each person. So the last paragraph we had Chanoch, who walks with God, and that's a whole nother story, what that means, but the trope is different there. What I wanted to say before this Aliyah, if I may, we have the slide up.
Yeah, he's just all the way over here, so.
Oh, okay. So I made a video series for the Pressman.
There will be a slide up
Academy.
in 1 second.
And, yeah, I'm
He's stalling.
I'm stalling. So on this page 32, if you see the bottom there, there's a note in the margin. It's called the Masoretic Notes from the Masoretic Rabbi.
Harbanu mikol ha'amim, ונתן לנו את תורתו, ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
Amen.
Amen. ויחי מתושלח 87 שנה ומעט שנה, ויולד את למך. ויחי מתושלח אחרי הולידו את למך 82 שנה ו700 שנה, ויולד בנים ובנות. ויהיו כל ימי מתושלח 69 שנה ו900 שנה, וימות. ויחי למך 82 שנה ומעט שנה, ויולד בן. ויקרא את שמו נוח לאמור, זה ינחמנו ממעשינו ומצוון ידינו מן האדמה אשר ארח אדוני. ויחי למך אחרי הולידו את נוח 95 שנה ו500 שנה, ויולד בנים ובנות. ויהי כל ימי למך 77 שנה ו700 שנה, וימות.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. תעמוד. חנה בת נחמיה ואסנת לעלייה שביעי.
Page 33, verse 32.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. ויהי נוח בן 500 שנה, ויולד נוח את שם חם ואת יפת. ויהי כחיל אדם לרוב על פני האדמה, ובנות יולדו להם. ויראו בני האלוהים את בנות האדם, כי טובות הנה. וייחו להם נשים מכל אשר בחרו. ויאמר אדוני, לא ידון רוחי ואדם לעולם, בשגם ובשר, והיו ימיו 120 שנה. הנפילים היו בארץ בימים ההם, וגם אחרי כן, אשר יבואו בני האלוהים אל בנות אדם, וילדו להם. הם הגיבורים אשר מעולם אנשי השם. וירא אדוני כי רבה רעת אדם בארץ, וכל יצר מחשבו ליבו רק רע כל היום. וינחם אדוני כי עשה את האדם בארץ, ויתעצב אל ליבו. ויאמר אדוני, אמחה את האדם אשר בראתי מעל פני האדמה, מאדם עד בהמה, עד רמס ועד עוף השמיים, כי ניחמתי כי עשיתים. ונוח מצא חן בעיני אדוני.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Ya'amod. Marshall. Meir ben Eliezer live vechana Lilia Maftir. Chatzi Kaddish can be found on page 174. Amen. B'chayechon v'yom echon u'b'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael v'agala u'vizmah kariv. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olam me'hamaya yiparach. Barichu tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma. Amen.
Last scripture we found on page 34, chapter 6, verse 5.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayar Adonai ki rabah ra'at adam ba'aretz v'chol yetzer machshavo libo rak kol hayom. Vayinachem Adonai ki asat adam ba'aretz vayitatzev libo. Vayomer Adonai emchet adam asher barati me'al pnei adama מאדם עד בהמה, עד רמס וערוף השמיים, כי ניחמתי כי עשיתים, ונוח מצא חן בעיני אדוני.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ya'amod hamagbiya ta'amod hagolelet. Please rise for the lifting and wrapping of the Sefer Torah. Vezot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Eitz chaim hi lemachazikim ba tomechei hameushar. Eitz chaim hi lemachazikim ba tomechei hameushar. Derachei noam v'chol netivotei shalom. Derachei noam v'chol netivotei shalom. Yain 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 As the Torah is placed in its holder, you may be seated. I just want to mention before we start the Haftorah that I'm going to have you use your Chumash at the beginning of my text study, so don't give your Chumash away at the end of the Haftorah reading, which can be found on page 36.
before I start the Haftarah, I want to have you pay attention to the first verse in the Haftarah, verse number 5. Ko amar ha'el Adonai borei hashamayim v'notehem roka ha'aretz v'tze'etza'eha noten neshama le'am aleha v'ruach laholchim ba. The translation, thus said the Lord God, who created the heavens and stretched them out, who spread out the earth and what it brings forth, who gave breath to the people upon it and life to those who walk thereon. You know, oftentimes when we listen to a reading of a Haftarah, we focus on the Hebrew, we focus on the translation, or we focus on the notes. So I want to just have you pay attention today specifically to the notes, because to see the echoes that we heard from Breshit, the beginning of Breshit, which we didn't read today, but which was read in our synagogue in the first triennial. It says the creation account in Genesis 1 to 2 relates how God created, and here we have the word bara, the heavens, hashamayim, and the earth, haaretz, and a ruach, a wind from God sweeping over the water, an expanse, a rakia, in the midst of the water, and the breath of life, nishmat chayim, that enlivens the first creature. Correspondingly, you can see this in verse 5, the prophet Isaiah speaks of God who borei, the heavens, he created the heavens, hashamayim, and spread out roka, the earth, haaretz, and who gave breath, neshama, to the people upon it, and a ruach to those who walk thereon. And the point here is that clearly Isaiah's theology of creation is aware of the early tradition and its vocabulary. So when we read the Haftarot, you can see that there's an echo of the Haftarah is echoing oftentimes the theme or even the words of the Torah reading itself. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratzav v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Ko amar ha'el Adonai borei hashamayim v'notehem roka ha'aretz v'tze'etza'eha notein neshama le'am aleha v'ruach laholachim baha. Ani Adonai karaticha v'tzedek v'yachzek b'yadecha v'etzorecha v'yatencha livrit am li'or goyim liv koach einayim ivrot lehotzi mimasker asir mi beit kela yoshevei choshech. Ani Adonai hu shemi uchvodi leacher lo etein utilati lapasilim. Harishonot hineva'u v'chadashot ani magid b'terem titzmachna ashmiya etchem. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash tehilato miktzei haaretz yoredei hayam umlo'o iyim v'yosheveihem yisu midbar v'arav chatzerim teshev kedar yaronu yoshevei selah merosh harim yitzvachu. Yasimu l'Adonai kavod utilato ba'im yagidu. Adonai kagibor yetzei ki ish milchamot ya'ir kina yariya af yatzriach al oyevav yitkabar. Hechesheti me'olam acharish etapak Kayoleda eshom esh af yachad achariv harim ugvaot v'chol esbam ovish v'samti neharot la'iyim v'agamim ovish v'holachti ivrim b'derech lo yada'u B'ntivot lo yada'u adrichem asim machshach lifnehem laor uma'akashim lemishor ele hadavarim asitim lo asaftim nasogu achor yevo shuvoshet habotechim bapasel ha'omerim lamasecha atem Eloheinu ha'chereshim shema'u v'ha'ivrim habitu lirot mi iver ki im avdi v'cheresh k'malachi eshlach mi iver kim shulam v'iver ke'evet Adonai Ra'ot rabot v'lo tishmor pakoach osnayim v'lo yishma Adonai chafetz lema'an sidko yagdil Torah v'yadir v'hu ambazuz v'shasui hafeach bachurim kulam u'vivate chalaim huchba'u hayu lavaz v'yein matzil Mishisa v'yein omer hashav mi v'achem ya'azin zot yakshiv yishma le'achor minatan limshisa Yaakov v'Yisrael levozazim halo Adonai zu chatanu lo v'lo avu v'drachav haloch v'lo shama'u b'torato Vayishpoch alav chema apo ve'ezuz milchama vatalatehu misaviv v'lo yada vativarbo v'lo yasim alev v'yata koamar Adonai bora'acha Yaakov v'yotzerecha Yisrael al tira Ki kalticha karati v'shimcha li'ata ki tavor b'mayim itecha ani uvaneharot lo yishtafucha ki telech b'mo'esh lo tikaveh v'lehava lo tivarbach ki ani Adonai Elohecha kadosh Yisrael Moshiach Natati chofrecha Mitzrayim kush usfa tachtecha me'asher yakarta ve'enai nichbata v'ani avticha ve'atein adam tachtecha ul'umim tachat nafshecha al tira ki itcha ani mimizrach avi zarecha u'ma'arav akabtzecha Omar latzavon teni ulteman al tichla'i havi ivanai merachog uvnotai miktsei haaretz kol hanikra vishmi v'lich vodi barativ yitzartiv af asitiv hotzi am iver v'einayim yesh v'chereshim v'oznayim lamo Kol hagoyim nikbetzu yachdav vayeyasafu leumim mi vahem yagid zot v'rishonot yashmi'unu yitanu edim v'yitzdaku v'yishma'u v'yamru emet atem edai ni'um Adonai ve'avdi asher bacharti lema'an Tedu v'taminu li v'tavinu ki anihu lefanai lo notzar el v'acharai lo yiyeh. Back on 175 in your Siddur. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol haolamim tzaddik b'chol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'yoseh ha'medaber umkayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim devarecha V'davar echad midavarecha, achor lo yachshuv rekam. Ki al melech ne'eman v'rachaman ata, baruch ata Adonai. Ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav. Rachem al Tzion ki beit chayenu. V'la'aluvat nefesh toshia b'mheira v'yameinu. Baruch ata Adonai. Misamech Tzion b'vaneha. Samachenu Adonai Eloheinu. B'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha. U'malchut beit David meshichecha. B'mheira yavo v'yagel libenu. Al kiso lo yeshev zar, v'lo yichalu od acherim et kivodo. Ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo, shloich b'nei roho leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai, Magen David. Al haTorah, v'al ha'avodah, v'al hanavim, v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh. Shnatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu litusha v'limnucha lichavod ultifaret ala kol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umvorachim otach yitbarach shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed baruch ata Adonai mikadesh haShabbat. Amen.
Yasher Koach, Marshall. And Yasher Koach to Rick, who did not get a Yasher Koach after he read Torah, so I'll do it all now. We're going to continue on page 176 or 147 or page 412.
Yekum vorkan min shemayach Marandi vishmaya yevisare chongos man veitam then omar amein mishabei rachavatin avraham misabei. Vishlach v'racha v'atzlacha v'chol ma'asei yedeihem im kol Yisrael acheihem v'nomar amen.
A prayer for our country, page 177, page 148, or page 414.
Our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy accept our prayer on behalf of our country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders, its judges, officers, and officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice you have decreed, so that peace and security, happiness and freedom will never depart from our land. Adonai, God, whose spirit is in all creatures, we pray that your spirit be awakened within all the inhabitants of our land. Uproot from our hearts hatred and malice, jealousy and strife. Plant love and companionship, peace and friendship among the many peoples and faiths who dwell in our nation. Grant us the knowledge to judge justly, the wisdom to act with compassion, and the understanding and courage to root out poverty from our land. May it be your will that our land be a blessing to all who dwell on earth, and may you cause all peoples to dwell in friendship and freedom. Speedily fulfill the vision of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. For all of them, from the least of them to the greatest, shall know me. And let us say, Amen.
Prayer for the state of Israel.
Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Gulatenu. Hagen aleha bevrat chastecha, ufros aleha sukat shalomecha, ushlach orecha v'amitecha rasheha, sareha v'yoatzeha, v'takenem be'itzah tova milfanecha, chazek et yedei meginei eretz kodshenu, v'anchilem Eloheinu Yeshua, v'ater et nitzachon te'atrem, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam le'yosheveha v'nomar
Amen. We'll turn out to page 180, page 150, or page 418 as we announce the new month. Sure. Eric, would you like to hold the Torah for us? If you're able to do so, please rise. This is a great month. It's called Cheshvan, and it has no holidays in it. It's called, seriously though, it's called Mar Cheshvan because we're sad that there are no holidays and that we will not be celebrating anything together as a community, though obviously individual birthdays and such come and go, but we do not have any major holidays or minor holidays as a community that we will be celebrating during this month of Cheshvan. Kendra Chorney will lead us in the blessing. She will say which days it follows, and then we will repeat the blessing after her to announce the blessing in the community, the month in the community.
Yehi ratzon milfanecha, Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu, shetechadesh aleinu et hachodesh haba letova velivracha, v'titen lanu chaim arukim, chaim shel shalom, chaim shel tova, chaim shel bracha, chaim shel parnasa, chaim shel chilutz atzamot, chaim sheyesh bahem yirat shamayim v'yirat chetz, chaim shein bahem busha uchlima, chaim shalom sher v'chavod, chaim shetivanu ahavat Torah v'yirat shamayim, chaim sheyimalu mishalot libeinu letova, amen selah. Mi she'asani sim lavoteinu v'gahalotam me'avdut lecherut, hu yigalotanu b'karov v'gabetz nidachenu me'arba kanfot haaretz, chaverim kol Yisrael, chaverim kol Yisrael v'nomar amen, chaverim kol Yisrael rosh chodesh Mar Cheshvan, Yihye b'yom Revi u'b'yom Chamishi, haba aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael l'tova.
Rosh Chodesh Mar Cheshvan yeh b'yom Shlishi.
The new month of Mar Cheshvan will come on Tuesday night, Wednesday, and Thursday. May it be a blessing upon us and all of Israel. Yichadeshehu Hakadosh Baruch Hu Aleinu V'al Kol Hamo Beit Yisrael L'chaim u'shalom,
Amen.
L'sason u'simcha,
Amen.
L'yishua u'nechama v'nomar Amen.
Even though Larry Herman is here, we are going to go to page 183 and skip over Ashrei. Page 183, page 153, or page 422. Yeah. No, that's okay. Yes, I will.
Yeah, hallelujah, Shem Adonai ki niskach,
Shemo levado,
Adoleretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren yamo, Sheila lecho hasita, libnei Yisrael am kerovo, hallelujah, hallelujah. Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai bnei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavod ba'oz, havu l'Adonai kevod shema, ישתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש. כל אדוני על המים על כבוד ירים, אדוני על מים רבים. כל אדוני בכוח, כל אדוני בהדר, כל אדוני שובר ארזים, וישבר אדוני את ארזי לבנון, וירקידם כמו עגל, לבנו וסריון, כמו בן רימים. כל אדוני קדש, כל אדוני יחיל מדבר, יחיל אדוני מדבר קדש. כל אדוני יכול לעלות, ויחשוף יערות, ובהיכלו כולו אומר כבוד. אדוני למבול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, ובנוחו יאמר. יצחיים היא למחזיקים בה, ותומכיה מאושר דרכיה, דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה. חדש, חדש ימינו, חדש ימינו כקדם.
You may be seated. Shabbat Shalom. It's really lovely to be back in intimate prayer settings with all of you, though the high holidays were really fantastic, and we hope that you felt that they were as spiritually uplifting as we all did. It is really wonderful to just be with a small group of daveners and of those who are eager to be here on just a regular Shabbat. I want to focus on something that I'm sure you've all focused on before, or at least heard others focus on before. And that is, and you can open up your Chumashim, I'll tell you a page. It's chapter 1, verse 26 and 27. So it's on page 9. It starts on page 9, and then it's going to go on to page 10. And I'm going to purposefully translate these verses without using the word man for Adam. Now, many of us know in regular society that the name Adam, there's a guy you all know with that name pretty prominently in this institution, is a typical male name. But Adam in our Torah is not man, it's just human. We get the word ish later on, which means man, but Adam just means the first human on the earth. So I'm going to very purposefully translate Adam as human and not as man. So I just want to point that out for how we're going to look at these verses, and you'll see why in just a moment. So verse 26, I know for those of you who come to Beiteinu very regularly, I know that normally I would call on someone else to read, but because I have the microphone and we have people listening on Zoom and live stream, I want to make sure that they can hear everything. So I'm going to do the reading. Chapter 1, verse 26 says, Vayomer Elohim na'aseh Adam betzalmenu kidmutenu. And God said, let's make Adam, let's make a person in our image, in our likeness. V'yirdu vidgat hayam uve'of hashamayim uvevehema uvechol haaretz uvechol haromes al haaretz. And this human is going to rule all of the fish of the sea and the beasts and the like that are on our land. Okay. Vayivra, you can turn the page to page 10, Elohim et ha'adam. And God created the Adam, Betzalmo, Betzelem Elohim bara oto. So God created this human in his image. In the likeness of God, God created him. Zachar unekeva bara otam. Male and female, God created them. What are your questions about these verses? Specifically this verse, but I wanted to give you the context of the verse before. Great. Okay, so it seems like maybe God is both male and female because, first of all, it's in the plural. Jenny didn't say this, but I'm going to add. First of all, it's in the plural. And second of all, if you're making something in your image and you're saying it has these two parts, then I must also have those two parts because I am saying that I'm making this thing in my likeness. So if my likeness is Zachar and Nekeva, well, then so too is going to be the thing that I create. I saw another hand. Yeah. God doesn't like his creation? Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sure. Great. So how are you connecting that to this verse? That's true. How are you connecting it here? Right. Great. Perfect. Okay, so there's the connection. So the connection being made here is if God is making human in God's likeness, well, then how come in just a few minutes we're going to hear that God doesn't really think that humans are all that, right? If humans aren't super great, then how are they being made in God's image? Great question. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is the man now exhibits out in the world as a likeness of God, or are the two things separate? That was Aaron's question. Dan. Uh-huh. Great. Great. Who's the hour? Who is God creating people in the image of? It says it in the plural. Who's the hour? Who's the hour image, right? That goes back to the original question of, was God also male and female, right? Or was God at least more than just one God? Was there a multiple? Were there angels? That's what the rabbis in the Midrash tend to say. But who is the hour? Who's being created in the hour image? Yeah. Great. Okay, so we're going to jump off of this particular kushia into the text study. I think Bonnie had the same question because I heard her say, yeah. There's oto, and then there's also otam. So what Rick was just mentioning is that it says, Betzelem Elohim bara oto, in the image of God, God created him, right? Him is specific here because of the way that it's written in the Hebrew. Zachar unekeva bara otam. Male and female, he created them. So is the oto one person and the otam two people? Or is the oto one person and then becomes a one person that exhibits both male and female? So we're going to look at that as my main kushia as well. And Cantor Torney is going to help me pass out these source sheets. Maybe, Joey, you can also help me pass out a few of these source sheets. You're just closest to me. Robbie, do you mind passing these out? While they're being passed out, I just want to point out one more thing in your Chumash. The part that Rick actually read today, chapter 5, you'll see in the first verses of the piece that he read, it says, again, many of you know there's two creation stories in Parshat Breshit. This is the middle of the second creation story, and it says here, Zachar unkeva bara'am, right, which is the same idea that male and female, they were created. So I just wanted to show that even in the second creation story, because I assumed that this might be a question that is brought up later, that it here too, that they are created together. Yeah, Rick? Yeah, beautiful. Right, and they're blessed. Great, and they're blessed also as Otam. Beautiful, thank you for adding that. Okay, thank you. So just because of time, we're not going to get through all of these sources, but I hope that you'll read through some of them. I want to point out that in our Torah, we very much in the creation story talk in binaries. We talk in sun and moon and light and dark and heavens and earth. Everything is a binary until we get to humans. And we explore that right now. What we are expecting in this first human is Zachar and Nekeva, male and female. Now, as we know from the creation story, when it continues on, we know that they were at some point split. So we know that there was one creation that became two creations. We hear in the second version of the creation story a different way that man was created, right? One was with a rib being taken out, or maybe a side. We can talk about that another year on Breshit, that the other person was created. Then in the other creation story, that there was the element of breath and of like what's the word I'm looking for? I'm thinking of like Play-Doh, taking them kind of from the same element and breaking them apart. So we know that there was a singular entity, this Adam, that became two. But here in the verses that we're looking at right now, that comes during this creation story of binaries, of opposites, that we are seeing here, that in fact is just one thing. It's just one creation, one human that exhibits both, Zachar and Nekeva. So what Rashi says is, male and female, God created them. I'm sorry, I didn't get rid of the he there. The he is God in that particular translation. And further on, it is said, and God took one of his ribs, is what I was just referring to. But according to a midrashic explanation, God created Adam at first with two faces, and afterwards God divided Adam. But the real sense of the verse is, here it tells you that both of them were created on the sixth day, but it does not explain to you how their creation took place. It's explained to you in another place, Rashi said. Rashi just wants you to keep learning. So how is Rashi describing this? Rashi is describing Zachar and Nekeva as having two faces. Okay, so the rabbis are going to explore these different ways of Zachar and Nekeva. Chizkuni, who's from 13th century, also from France, says that Zachar and Nekeva bara otam is that they were quite literally in the same body, male and female. When we get to the Or HaChaim in 18th century Morocco, he says, it also wants to tell us that God created Adam with two images. The first is the image that is recognizable in all humans, and even in humans that are empty of holiness. Right? Basically what he's saying is not able to connect to the Torah, not connect to the rituals that are in front of us. About them, it states in God's image, the explanation of which is the image of the creature. And the second is the level of the happy ones, the people of Israel. He's unfortunately comparing Jews to non-Jews. I'm trying to compare them now to people who are connected to that which brings them spiritual fulfillment and those who do not. So you can choose who you agree with. The inheritance of God's field corresponding to those, it states, in the image of God, God created Adam. Behold, it comes to teach us that there are two images among the creations. So in each one of us, there are two creations. The image that is recognizable, that Adam is a human. We walk around this earth and no one wonders, oh, are you know that you are human? That doesn't mean that they know what you possess. That doesn't mean that they know what you believe, how you feel, how you experience the world. And then there's the image of God, which is spiritual and hidden. So then there's the part of you that is on the inside, that you have to choose to share. It's not the part of you that is obvious to the world, that you are a human, that you are walking around this earth like the others walking around this earth of our kind. but it's the inside part of you that you share that makes you unique. So that's a very different, a very beautiful, but a very different explanation of this. Now turn the page over. Radak in 12th century is very straightforward. He says, okay, Zachar Nekeva bara otam. That means things, but he's saying just like before, it seems very obvious to us that a human was made both male and female. Now, I'm not going to read the Yosef Karo piece, though it is quite interesting. And this is a diary that he kept that was put out in 1646. But I'll just give you the premise of it. He's basically referring to the possibility that a male can have a female soul and vice versa. That we can walk around in the world as presenting one way in our life that society defines us as, but on the inside of us, we might actually feel completely different. And again, even just saying male versus female soul is already characterizing stereotypes. But what it means is that you might feel different than the way that you are presenting yourself to the world. Now, we in the 21st century are very aware of this happening because we've been amongst people who have either based on their pronouns or based on transitioning to a different gender have said to us, I was born this way. I am presenting, however, and I feel and I am choosing to be in the world as what I feel on the inside of me, and that is this way. Abby Stein, who many of you have probably heard of, she also spoke at Temple Beth Am as part of one of our series at the beginning of COVID, grew up in the Hasidic world in Brooklyn as in a family as a Hasidic little boy and grew up to become a Hasidic rabbi, and then wrote really beautifully about how she always felt like she was a girl, that she always felt on the inside of her soul that that's who she was. And today she presents on the outside of her that who she feels on the inside, and that's who she is. And so one of the things that she speaks about, this is actually the underlying piece is actually her commentary on the Shulchan Aruch. One of the things that she so often speaks about is it's very clear to us that there are ways in which we can feel something on the inside, just like the Orach Chaim was saying on the other page, that we don't necessarily see on the outside. And it's our job to probably share more of that with the world so that we're more aware of the things that are on the inside that can affect how we are on the outside. Breshit Rabbah is a midrash from around the 6th century, and it says the following, and we're gonna actually finish with this, and I'm sorry that I've done it quickly and frontally. This is a topic that deserves much more attention and many more sources, but I also don't want to keep you all here until tomorrow. So Breshit Rabbah says, and God said, let us make Adam in our image, in our shape, which is interesting. Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar said, when Hashem created Adam Harishon, the first human, he was created as both genders. Thus it is written, male and female did God create them. Rabbi Shmuel ben Bar Nachman said, when Hashem created Adam Harishon, God created Adam with two faces, one on each side. And when God made Chava, God split him along the middle, forming two backs. They challenged him, but it is written, and God took one of his ribs. God said to them, Mitzaltav doesn't mean rib, it means one of his sides, similar to that which is said, and to the tzela, to the side of the Mishkan, which is translated the side of the Mishkan. Rabbi Abby Stein writes here, the Midrash, classical Jewish exegesis, adds that the first human being formed in God's likeness was an androgynous, an intersexed person. Hence, our tradition teaches that all bodies and genders are created in God's image, whether we identify as men, women, intersex, or something else. I wanted to bring this today, not because I think it's so not so new. It's not something that you've never heard before. It's not something that is enlightening, I hope, to your life nor to our community. But I want to bring it because I think it's remarkable that this is in the first chapter of our Torah. It is remarkable that in the first chapter of our Torah, we recognize that human dignity, that accepting a person for who they are, is more important than defining for them what they look like on the outside and therefore must be for us. It is extremely, extremely special that in our Torah, that the entire creation story is all about opposites and all about fish in the sea and birds in the sky and separation, 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 separation. And then it comes to people and it's all about bringing everything together. We see it here in this Zachar Nekeva Bara Otam, and we also see it in Lo Tov Hiot Adam Levado. It is not good for a person to be alone. Right? We see all of these moments of bringing connection to people, making sure that for people there isn't that distance, there isn't that separation, that we step away from those binaries of the rest of creation and recognize that within a person, there are many different aspects to who that person is, to what makes that person up. There was a blessing that was written for transitioning genders by Rabbi Eli Kukla. I'm not sure if I'm saying that name correctly, but it's on the back of your sheet. And it's 3 different blessings that you know from different places, but they're put together to be this blessing of transitioning genders. And it says, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir le'ovrim. Blessed are you, Eternal One, O God, ruler of time and space, the transforming one to those who transform or transition or cross over. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani betsalmo. Blessed are you, God, who made me in your image, in my image, in the image that I'm choosing to have today. And then, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lezman hazeh. Blessed are you, Eternal One, O God, of our God, ruler of time and space, who has kept us alive and sustained us and helped us to arrive at this moment. And a piece of Torah that Cantor Chorny once taught me is that you don't just say shehechianu for new moments, but that you say shehechianu for moments that you hope to happen again and again and again. And so it's not just that in this moment that we are living and that we are thriving, but that we continue to find moments where we can live and thrive and help others to do the same. So I hope that you are able to read our Torah, remembering that even in our tradition, in the first chapter of our tradition, that we are being taught to see people for who they are telling us they are, and for whom they are choosing to be. Whether in this moment or tomorrow or the day after, that we are to see people made in the image of God in all moments of their transition. Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue now with Musaf on page 184, page 155, or page 428. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba be'amad yivrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael bagala u'vizman kari v'yimeru amen Yehi shemei Rabba mevorach Le'olam olam me'omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'yimeru amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל לחיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, מצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
אמן.
נריצך ונקדישך כסוציח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, ככתוב היה נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר ינאי נאי נאי ינאי נאי נאי, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך כל הארץ, כבודו כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו לאומתם, ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ינאי נאי נאי ינאי נאי נאי ינאי נאי 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 ינאי ממקומו יפן ברחמים ויחונם, המייחדים שמו ערב הבוקר בכל יום תמיד, פעמיים באהבה שמה אומרים. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד, הוא אלוהינו הוא אבינו הוא מלכנו הוא מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור,
לא חנני לעולם אלוהיכם לדור ודור, הללויה.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי המלך קדוש וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
אמן.
If you have not yet completed your Amidah, please continue at your own pace. Kaddish Shalem can be found on page 203 or 181 or page 506. יתקדע וקדע שמי רבה, בהמה דברך כותב לך וכותב בחייכון ומכון בחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם עולם מיומיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כה ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ועלמה ויאמרו
אמן.
תתקבל צדוד הון ובהון דכל ישראל קדם ובהון איש ושמיה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו
Amen.
En Keloheinu, en Kadonenu, en Kemalkeinu, en Kamashienu, Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Michamashienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Emalkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shiktiru, Avoteinu, Lefanecha Eketoret Hasamim. Aleinu, page 205, 183, or 510. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet kedula leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoe ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo samechelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, vanachnu korim. Umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu notei shamayim veyosed haaretz u'moshe v'ikara b'shamayim melech shehu notei. Kakatu betoratecha Adonai himlach leolam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech ala kol haaretz bayom ahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo Mourner's Kaddish, page 207, 184, or 512. Yit gadal ve'yit kadash shemei rabbah be'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei bechayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Israel ba'agala uvizman kari ve'imru amen yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam lamei almaya Yit barach ve'yish tabach ve'yit pa'ar ve'yit ramam ve'yit naseh ve'yit hadar ve'yit aleh ve'yit halal shemei dekudesha b'richum le'ila min kol birchata ve'shirata tushbechata ve'nechemata da'amiran be'alma ve'imru amen Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya ve'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen Oseh shalom bimramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru, amen. We'll do Adon Olam in just 1 second, and maybe some kids will come over and help us lead. Tali specifically is going to be leading for us. Announcements. First of all, Yashar Koach to Rick and Yashar Koach to Marshall for laning for us today. It is remarkable that there are multiple people, if not most people, in this community that can really teach Torah as well as lane it. So thank you for the two of you for doing both today. Next week, we have a bat mitzvah here on the field. Tali, do you also have announcements? No, I know. Do you have announcements, though? Do you want to say anything? Okay. We have a bat mitzvah here on the field for Naomi Klein. Cantor Troni and I will be here with her and her family, so an early mazal tov to the family. Friday night will be Neshama Minyan. During the week, we have many things starting for the first time, given that the Chagim are over and this is the beginning of at least the Torah's new year. So we have our first green team event happening on, I believe, I don't remember. You can look at the email that will go out at incorrect information. So that is happening this week, as well as other classes that will be either starting or continuing with a new lens, such as Rabbi Shapiro and I are continuing our Parsha class. However, it's going to be called Exploring the Parsha Through Mental and Spiritual Growth. With a colon. Yes, there's a colon after Exploring the Parsha. That is on Fridays at 11. And I don't think there are any other announcements other than it's so lovely to see you. Oh, yes, tonight, 5:45 here on the field, Mincha Mariv, we are doing in person now with food for Suda Shlishit. If you would like to come, it'll be right here at 5:45. Okay, Tali, you ready? You ready? Which one should we sing? Should we sing? Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Le'Yein Asad It's hard. Lollipop are singing. Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlotak down. Levado Imlach Nora Vehu Haya Vehu Hove Vehu Iye Betifara Vehu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Lehamshilo Leachbira Beli Reshit Beli Tachlit Velo Ha'oz Ve'hamisra Vehu Eli Ve'chai Goali Betzur Chevli Be'eit Sahara Vehu Nisi Umanos Li Menat Kosi Beyom Ekra Beyado. Little twirl. Kid Ruchi. You want to twirl? Be'etishan Ve'a'iram Ve'im Ruchi Keviati Adonai Li Veloi. Big bow, Tali. Big bow. Take a bow. Take a bow. Okay. If you're able to do so, please rise for Kiddush on page 77.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat le'dorotam berit olam v'nihu b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam le'olam v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat le'dorotam berit olam Ki sheisha jamim asa Adonai tashamayim ve'et ha'aretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat le'dorotam berit olam Uvayom hashvi shavat vaynafash v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat le'dorotam berit olam Zachor yom HaShabbat lekadosho sheishit yamim Tabot v'yasita kol melachtecha v'yom hashvi'i Shabbat l'Adonai Elohecha lo ta'aseh kol melacha ta'avincha v'itecha avda v'mencha u'memtecha v'gercha asher b'sharecha ki sheshit yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et ha'aretz et hayam v'et kol asher b'mayanach b'yom hashvi'i al kein barach Adonai et yom HaShabbat v'yikadeshehu savri Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
There are snacks and